Any minute now, the big suspense over Uttar Pradesh's most VIP seats of Amethi and Raebareli will end courtesy the Congress party. Remember, the Congress party has until the latest of tomorrow to announce, but all indications are that the Congress is all set to announce its candidates in the Gandhi bastions of Amethi and Raebareli any minute left. There's less than 24 hours to go for the Amethi nomination deadline. The Congress says Gandhi's siblings will be taking the final call. It's incredible how they've left it to the last minute. Is it strategic or just chronic indecision that has plagued the grand old party, constraining it from making a clear decision over whether Rahul Gandhi will take the Amethi plunge and fight incumbent Smriti Irani for the third time? The big question now is, will the Congress party make that announcement today, or will they wait till tomorrow, the last day, the nomination deadline, to make its announcement? How much confusion continues to prevail? We'll have to wait and see. We're standing by here. India Today's political team is on war alert, waiting for that big news break to come in from the Congress headquarters. I'm Shiv. Thanks so much for being with me here on 5 Live in the middle of an exciting election of 2024. First, as always, the headlines at 5 p.m. BJP fields controversial MP Brij Bhushan Singh's son Karan Bhushan from Uttar Pradesh's Kaisarganj. Dinesh Tripathi fielded from Raebareli. All eyes now on the Congress's decision from Raebareli and Amethi. That suspense is likely to end today. Just hours to go for that nomination deadline. Will Rahul Gandhi fight Amethi after Wayanad? News tightens around sex abuse accused MP Prajwal Revanna. Lookout notice against the suspended JDS member of parliament. Foreign Ministry says political clearance for his Germany travel was neither sought nor granted. Damning revelations against website NewsClick emerge. India Today accesses charge sheet, says NewsClick paid Shaheen Bagh and CAA protesters. Was it Chinese money fueling unrest in India? Big showdown over vote jihad intensifies. Prime Minister Modi slams opposition bloc for backing this bizarre religion-based call, calls it the Congress's bid to inflame Muslims. It's the latest announcement from the election battlefield. Controversial member of parliament from the BJP, Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh's son, has been fielded from his father's Kaisarganj seat in Uttar Pradesh by the BJP. The father has been dropped, but it's the rise of his son, and he will be fighting the election in place of his father. Remember, Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh has been embroiled in sexual harassment and molestation allegations leveled at him by India's champion wrestlers in one of the biggest stories of the last 1 year. The BJP has dropped Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh and has fielded his son Karan Bhushan from the UP constituency of Kaisarganj. The BJP has additionally nominated Dinesh Pratap Singh from the high-profile Congress bastion of Raebareli, but suspense continues over who the Congress will be fielding from Raebareli. But first, let's deal with Kaisarganj for a moment. Remember, there had been suspense all along over whether the BJP would give the controversial Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh a ticket for another run of this Lok Sabha constituency. They've dropped him, but basically given it to his son, which most critics will say does not really send out a message. Listen in to Karan Bhushan, the son of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh.
क्या कहेंगे, क्या है पहली प्रतिक्रिया? हमारे साथ इस वक्त करण भूषण सिंह मौजूद हैं। करण जी, ये बताइए, आपको टिकट मिला है, क्या कहेंगे, क्या है पहली प्रतिक्रिया आपकी?
मैं पहले तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी को, सारे राष्ट्रीय नेतृत्व को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि उन्होंने मुझे मौका दिया और मैं अपने पिता के मार्गदर्शन पे यहाँ पे चुनाव का पूरा
आपके पिता की जगह आपको दिया गया है, आप कैसा इसको लेकर?
अपने पिताजी को भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ और अब इजाजत चाहता हूँ कि
इस वक्त आप कहाँ, अयोध्या जा रहे हैं?
भगवान राम और हनुमान जी से हाँ मैं इसका सारा अपने पिताजी के मार्गदर्शन में सब कुछ उसको करूंगा। ठीक भैया, आप इजाजत दे। ठीक भैया, जय श्री राम।
तो आपने देखा करण भूषण सिंह, ज्यादा उन्होंने कुछ नहीं कहा कि पिताजी के आशीर्वाद से मिला है और मैं पिताजी के काम को ही आगे बढ़ाऊंगा। इस वक्त वो अयोध्या प्रभु राम के दर्शन के लिए निकल चुके हैं। जैसे ही इस बात का ऐलान हुआ है, इसका घोषणा हुआ। कुमार अभिषेक, कैसरगंज, आज तक।
And joining me to understand the BJP's decision selecting Karan Bhushan, the son of controversial MP Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, a man who's been in the angry spotlight of sexual harassment and molestation allegations for about a year and a half now and has been under investigation. His son has now been given the ticket from Kaisarganj in Uttar Pradesh. Joining me live, Poulomi Saha, who tracks the BJP for us. Also with us is Executive Editor Preeti Chaudhary, who is in Amethi, as a matter of fact. She's been crisscrossing Uttar Pradesh and has been reporting for us live from there. Poulomi, quickly to you first. How did the BJP finally get round to this decision? This has been a tricky one for the BJP. You know, most critics will say, you've dropped the father but given the ticket to the son.
That will be the criticism, of course, as far as the BJP is concerned. The BJP has, of course, weighed this. They had made up their minds a long time ago that Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh couldn't be fielded again, despite him being a three-term member of parliament from Kaisarganj constituency. He's been in the Lok Sabha 6 times. Otherwise, he's been there in the past on a Samajwadi Party ticket as well. He's a heavyweight when it comes to the Kaisarganj Gonda area and the region itself. He won with a huge margin in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections as well. So hence that sort of came into the picture as well, with Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh digging his heels in. He in fact insisted on a ticket for himself, but the party high command then went on to say that it couldn't be him, but they gave in to that kind of pressure, where it indeed is his younger son who will be debuting as far as the electoral battlefield is concerned with this Lok Sabha election. Karan Bhushan Singh, his elder son Pratik Bhushan Singh, is already an MLA from the Bharatiya Janata Party in UP. So yes, the family has got a ticket this time round, though like I said, Brij Bhushan kept insisting on a ticket for himself, but the party finally weighed in on the one decision that they could, that it wouldn't be Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, but under the influence that the heavyweight Neta in fact yields in, like I said, the Kaisarganj Gonda area, he prevailed and his son now has got a ticket. Shiv.
Okay, so a compromise has obviously been struck and Karan Bhushan Singh has been given the ticket and Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh has been dropped. Preeti is also with me. Preeti, quickly bringing you in on this. Does the selection of Karan Bhushan Singh in any way offset the kind of trickiness of the whole Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh issue, and also the caste and community equations that obviously came into play during the selection? Help us understand that, Preeti.
Shiv, when we sit in studios and you say the right thing morally on what should be done politically, there is a fair line that divides it, and I'll tell you why. Poulomi just ran us through the fact that he's been a 3-time sitting MLA, MP Brij Bhushan Sharan from the seat of Kaisarganj, and now the ticket gone to his younger son. I'll give you a bit of a back end on what's going on. Earlier on, it was Brij Bhushan Sharan's wife who they said that could get a ticket. Apparently, Brij Bhushan Sharan, and that's what the local political grapevine is, refused. He didn't want his wife to get the ticket. He wanted it for himself. If you remember, Samajwadi Party as well till now has not announced their candidate from the Kaisarganj seat. And that's where the dichotomy of what I was telling you comes into play. Because he's been in the Samajwadi Party before, and the Samajwadi Party was actually hoping that the BJP denies Brij Bhushan Sharan a ticket. And this is all, I'm giving you what the grapevine is. And they would have given the ticket to Brij Bhushan Sharan in all probability. There seemingly has been a deal which has been struck with the BJP and Brij Bhushan Sharan, and he's agreed to the candidature of his younger son. And now Samajwadi Party will very soon have to announce their own candidate because time is running out. Politically speaking, he's a Thakur heavyweight. He influences not just the constituency of Kaisarganj, but constituencies around it. There is a strange fascination of a Robin Hood kind of image that he enjoys on ground, where a large part of Kaisarganj is concerned. So politically, it was a decision that was made by the Bharatiya Janata Party that they did not want to let go of that seat, and therefore it been given to the younger son of Brij Bhushan Sharan. But there is no political party that can take high moral ground here, Shiv, because like I said, right now, no matter what most political parties might say, but there was word that Samajwadi Party was in back channel talks with Brij Bhushan Sharan, and the reason why they hadn't announced their candidate till now. But this is all the grapevine.
Okay, Preeti, stay with me. Dinesh Pratap Singh, the BJP's candidate from Rai Bareli, is speaking to India Today. Samarth, let's just dip in and quickly listen in.
कार्यकर्ता पर जो भरोसा किया है, इसके लिए मैं अपने देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री, अपने देश के यशस्वी गृह मंत्री, अपनी भारतीय जनता पार्टी का राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष और भारतीय जनता पार्टी रायबरेली के छोटे छोटे उन कार्यकर्ताओं का धन्यवाद देता हूं, जिनकी भावनाओं को सुन करके हमारी राष्ट्रीय पार्टी और राष्ट्रीय नेतृत्व ने मुझे इस लायक समझा। मैं इन सबका हृदय से धन्यवाद देता हूं और भरोसा दिलाता हूं कि उनकी भरोसे को कभी हारने नहीं दूंगा, उनके भरोसे को कायम रखूंगा। रायबरेली में कमल खिलेगा, जो देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री जी को फिर से प्रधानमंत्री बनाने का काम आएगा।
जी, रायबरेली गढ़ कहा जाता है कांग्रेस का। 19 में आपने ही सोनिया गांधी के खिलाफ चुनाव भी लड़ा था। आप कैसा देख रहे हैं समीकरण?
आप किसको गढ़ कहते हो? ये रायबरेली कांग्रेस का गढ़ कभी रहा होगा जब से देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने देश की कमान संभाली है। आज मोदी जी के हाथों में देश सुरक्षित है, मोदी जी के हाथों में देशवासियों की गाढ़ी कमाई का पैसा सुरक्षित है। तब से मैं कह सकता हूं, रायबरेली जनपद में न एक गांव का प्रधान कांग्रेस का जीतता है, न एक बीडीसी जीतता है, न एक एमएलए जीतता है, न एक एमएलसी जीतता है, न एक जिला पंचायत सदस्य जीतता है। कौन सा गढ़ किसे आप कहते हो? आज रायबरेली भारतीय जनता पार्टी का गढ़ है। रायबरेली का जिला पंचायत अध्यक्ष भारतीय जनता पार्टी का है। रायबरेली में सबसे ज्यादा वोट आज भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पास है और इस बार रायबरेली
that is Dinesh Pratap Singh, the BJP's candidate, newly announced candidate from the VIP seat of Rai Bareli. But who will he be going up against in the Congress party? Will it be Priyanka Gandhi? Will it be Rahul Gandhi? Will it be somebody else? We don't know yet, but we're waiting on that. But I want to go back for a moment to the seat of Kaisarganj, where Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, who faces allegations from India's champion wrestlers for sexual harassment and sexual molestation, his son has been given that ticket. Kumar Abhishek, who scored that first conversation with Karan Bhushan, the new candidate from Kaisarganj, is with me live. Abhishek, ये compromise formula कैसे हुआ?
देखिए, बीजेपी ने तय कर रखा था कि वो ब्रजभूषण शरण सिंह को टिकट नहीं देगी, लेकिन ब्रजभूषण शरण सिंह लगातार इस बात का दबाव बना रहे थे कि चुनाव लड़ेंगे तो वही लड़ेंगे। बीजेपी इस इलाके में ब्रजभूषण शरण सिंह को इग्नोर नहीं कर सकती, क्योंकि कई सीटें प्रभावित होती। दूसरी बात, पश्चिम में जिस तरीके से ठाकुर और ब्राह्मणों को लेकर एक माहौल बना था और पहले और दूसरे चरण में थोड़ा उसका असर भी दिखा, अब अवध के इलाके में और पूरब के इलाके में एक और बीजेपी के लिए से चांस लेना हो जाता। ऐसे में जो दबाव बना हुआ था बीजेपी के ऊपर भी, वो ये था कि उन्हें टिकट नहीं देना है, लेकिन अल्टीमेटली ये एक कॉम्प्रोमाइज फॉर्मूला था और उन्होंने अपने छोटे बेटे को आगे किया, जो कि विदेश से पढ़ा लिखा है, जो कि कुश्ती संघ का अध्यक्ष है उत्तर प्रदेश का, इसके अलावा नेशनल शूटर है, तो उन्होंने उनके नाम को आगे किया और फिर बीजेपी ने इसे मान लिया है। तो ये दोनों के लिए एक विन विन सिचुएशन जैसा है। बीजेपी की साख भी बची, लेकिन सवाल तो फिर भी उठेंगे कि आखिर जिस तरीके से महिला पहलवानों ने आरोप लगाया, उसका जवाब भी इसी तरीके से मिला है कि परिवार से ही टिकट दिया गया है।
And those questions will be completely justified. Kumar Abhishek, thank you very much for joining us on this question. Now I want to put the spotlight on the seat of Amethi and Rai Bareli, because the suspense continues. The BJP, just to summarize and be clear, viewer, the BJP has now announced its candidates for Kaisarganj and Rai Bareli. Their sitting MP in Amethi, Smriti Irani, is by default the candidate. She's already been announced quite a long time ago. But the Congress has not announced its candidates in Amethi and Rai Bareli. suspense galore with just 24 hours to go and the announcement still not coming over whether the Gandhi siblings, Rahul and Priyanka, will be fighting from Uttar Pradesh. With only a few hours left, the Congress is still apparently undecided about whether to field Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka from Amethi and Raebareli in whatever permutation. Both Rahul and Priyanka, according to one set of sources, say are reluctant to contest, but the Congress leadership wants both Rahul and Priyanka to contest from their bastions and enter the political fray. The leadership of the Congress party believes that if Rahul and Priyanka both decide to avoid a fight, it will send out a terrible message and will in effect end the Congress's muscle as such as it is in the northern part of the country. Will they or will they not is the big question.
Big Bang Congress suspense over Gandhi siblings fight from Amethi and Raebareli. With just hours to go before nomination deadline, Congress needs to hurry. The party has left the decision on Rahul and Priyanka.
मुझे उम्मीद है कि आज कोई घोषणा सीईसी ने पूरा अधिकार कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष को दे दिया है। कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष सोच रहे हैं, बातचीत हो रही है, विचार विमर्श हो रहा है और मुझे उम्मीद है कि आज शाम तक कोई ना कोई घोषणा निकल आएगा। बिल्कुल।
But the delay is already taking a toll on morale of Congress workers, rooting for the Bhai and Behen.
अमेठी के लोगों के अंदर इस बात को लेकर के लगातार चर्चा थी कि क्या राहुल गांधी चुनाव लड़ेंगे या नहीं, लेकिन अब जिस तरीके से कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ताओं का उत्साह है वो लगातार जो है इस बात को कह रहे हैं कि राहुल गांधी ही आएंगे और इसको लेकर के जितने भी कार्यकर्ता हैं वो इस समय काफी एक्साइटेड हैं और उनको लगता है कि आज ये ऐलान हो जाएगा, तस्वीर साफ हो जाएगी कि आखिर ये चुनाव में अमेठी से राहुल गांधी ही ताल ठोकेंगे। क्या राहुल गांधी चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं?
हाँ, राहुल गांधी यहाँ से चुनाव लड़ेंगे।
लग रहा है कि राहुल गांधी के पक्ष में माहौल है। स्मृति ईरानी तो कहती है हमने बहुत काम किया है, यहाँ पर जो है जनता दोबारा उन्हें 5 लाख से जिता रही है।
राहुल गांधी के हित में पूरी जनता यहाँ की लगी हुई है और वो जीत कर यहाँ से जाएंगे, भारी से भारी बहुमतों से जीतेंगे।
नेता आदरणीय श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी ने पहले भी कहा था जब वो राज्यसभा जा रही थी कि रायबरेली से हम अपना नाता खत्म नहीं करेंगे, हमारा परिवार रायबरेली से जुड़ा रहेगा। इसलिए भी हम लोग पूरा आश्वस्त हैं और रायबरेली का आम जन ये चाहता है कि गांधी परिवार से ही लोग यहाँ लड़ें, प्रियंका जी लड़ें, अगर कोई बहुत विशेष वो है तो राहुल जी लड़ें।
Rahul needs to decide if he wants a rematch with Smriti Irani in Amethi after his shock 2019 defeat. Apart from the Wayanad contest in Kerala, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra too is tight-lipped.
देखिए, अमेठी के बाद कांग्रेस का डिसीजन है, जो भी मुझे ऑर्डर मिलेगा मैं वो करूंगा। सीईसी मीटिंग हमारी पार्टी में सीईसी मीटिंग्स में ये डिसीजन लिए जाते हैं।
There is still a confusion between Raebareli and Amethi. What is your feeling? Ma'am, you are hesitant to contest the election. Ma'am, you are hesitant to contest the election. Ma'am, please.
The BJP predicts complete rout for the Gandhis in their bastions.
भाई बहन चुनाव लड़ने से मुकर गए, उत्तर प्रदेश को टाटा बाय बाय बोलकर चले गए और जल्दी उनको वायनाड भी टाटा बाय बाय बोलने वाला है, उनकी वहां से भी बोलती बंद करवाने वाला है।
BJP's Amethi face, Smriti Irani remains confident of a big win.
There is no buzz around the nation, there's buzz only in media channels, yes. Nobody is buzzing for them. If there were people buzzing for Rahul and Priyanka, we wouldn't be winning.
After months of suspense, will it be Rahul, Priyanka or some rank newcomers in Uttar Pradesh's most high-profile fights? With Abhishek Mishra in Amethi and Samarth Shivastav in Raebareli, Bureau Report, India Today.
And you know, many of our viewers around the country will be wondering why this inordinate focus on Amethi. Amethi is historic. Amethi is important to the Gandhi family because of how many decades they have ruled it. So that's the reason why it's getting all this media frenzy and attention. Number one, why does the Congress need to win back Amethi more than just about the optics? Number one, it can dismantle that image of the Congress being in decline in the heartland, because it has significance that goes beyond just winning one seat. It's important for the Congress's revival in a saffronized BJP-controlled Uttar Pradesh. It will energize the Congress cadres in the north, even if the Gandhis even just forget about winning. It will establish the Congress's writ in the lost bastion of Amethi, which Rahul Gandhi was defeated in 2019. And it could finally confirm Rahul in some ways as a pan-India leader. He's already an MP in Wayanad. Will he bite the bullet and contest in Amethi as well is the big question. Preeti and Mausami Singh are both live with me. I want to go across to them because they've been reporting this story for weeks and months now. Mausami, the most immediate question I have for you, since you track the Congress, is: are we going to have to wait till tomorrow for an announcement on Amethi and Raebareli, or is it going to be any time now? I'm a little tired of saying any time now, Mausami.
I'm afraid, Shiv, I don't have a concrete, decisive answer to that one. And I haven't had a decisive answer as far as will he, won't he, will she, won't she. But clearly, I can tell you one thing that is going to happen today. Perhaps we thought that it will happen by the afternoon. But by the stretch of what the Congress leaders are saying, I think that it will stretch to the evening. Many say, particularly the Congress style is, if there is a list which is much awaited, it will happen late in the night at perhaps 11 o'clock. But let me tell you that the buzz is loud that only one of the Gandhis is going to contest, and the other seat will be contested by a surprise candidate or a wild card entry, or more probably a local candidate. That's what we can fathom. And Kharge and Rahul Gandhi met today at Shimoga. They had a conversation for 10 minutes, and perhaps something concrete would have come out of that conversation.
You know, I can guarantee to all of my viewers that Mausami is, among the finest political reporters in the country. And if she can't wager a guess over what's happening, I can tell you that that must be true of the Congress as well, which in fact we know to be the case. So even the Congress probably hasn't taken a decision yet, and that's the reason why this delay. Preeti is at the epicenter of what we're talking about. She's in Amethi. She's been reporting from there. She's traveled to Raebareli as well. Preeti, you know, there are delays and there are delays. Now there's less than 24 hours to go. You know, we've talked about all kinds of permutations and combinations. We've talked about how the delay could be strategic, post-Wayanad, keep everyone guessing till the end. What do you make of this? Now 20 hours to go.
Well, you know, Shiv, you said that I was at the epicenter of it all. Now, how do we know it's the epicenter? It could very well be Raebareli. We are standing in Amethi. Because if there's only one contesting, is that one going to contest from Amethi or Raebareli? Or we might even see KL Sharma standing from Amethi, because if you're looking at a local. So lots of permutations, combinations, time's running out, Shiv. And, to be very honest, everyone's getting a tad bit tired, and especially the cadre here. As a political journalist, if one looks at what's going on ground, if your party has said, today you had a Jairam Ramesh who says the party wants them to fight. Jairam Ramesh, as a senior leader, says that I would like to see both of them fight. It's up to the Gandhis now. Overtly, over time, we've seen the Gandhis come out and always say one thing: it's up to the party to decide, and our roles are for the party to decide. So which one is it? There's a tad bit of confusion on that front. I'll ask, my camera person to also show you, Manish, that, Shiv, whoever fights from Amethi right now, if it's not this person that you see on your television screen, it's going to be very unfortunate for that person. Because all through Amethi, where the cadre is concerned, and I'm not trying, Manish, we'll just show you this as well. Aa rahe hai Rahul Gandhi, welcome Rahul Gandhi. These are posters all over the Congress headquarters. What we really see right now is just a cadre which is lying in waiting day after day, hoping to hear from the party to give them a sense of what's really going on, whether there's going to be an announcement, not an announcement. You know, there's a sense that at least you're taking the cadre for granted. There is a momentum that the cadre here feels that they've been able to, put together where Uttar Pradesh is concerned. And I'll show you, people are just sitting, lying in wait. Let's try and get in a few reactions and let's see, what they have to say. किसकी इंतजार में है सर आप यहाँ पर?
हम लोग राहुल गांधी के इंतजार में नहीं है, इंतजार सब खत्म है, वही घड़ी है, कल नामांकन होना है।
हाँ जी?
घोषित होना है, तैयारी पूरी हो।
अगर घोषित नहीं हुए तो कोई और घोषित हो
गए?
गए?
ये तो कंफर्म है, घोषित होना, ऐसा कुछ वो है नहीं घोषित।
अब तो सुनने में आ रहा है केएल शर्मा जी घोषित हो जाएंगे।
ये तो कहने की बात है, कौन अब ये तो कोई भी उड़ा सकता है ऐसी बातें, अफवाह उड़ा रहा है। मीडिया से ही चल सकती है बात।
अगर नहीं हुआ तो वही पूछ रहे हैं, हमारा तो
ऐसा कोई चांस ही नहीं हुआ। ऐसे लास्ट टाइम पे कोई चुनाव लड़ सकता है, सिर्फ राहुल गांधी ही लड़ सकते हैं। इस टाइम पर अगर कोई भी मतलब कांग्रेस का कोई भी प्रत्याशी आके चुनाव, गांधी परिवार के अलावा
सिर्फ एक गांधी परिवार से ही होना चाहिए। और अगर कोई मान लीजिए कोई और नाम अनाउंस होता है, उनका सपोर्ट करेंगे।
तो कोई भी लेगा, जीतना भी तो है सीट को।
बढ़िया बात, लड़ तो कोई भी लेगा, जीतना भी तो है। एंड अल्टीमेटली इट विल कम डाउन टू अ नेम फ्रॉम द गांधी क्लैन would be able to pull this battle through against Smriti Irani, and that's the word that you find on the ground, Shiv.
Okay, Preeti and Mosmi, we'll leave it there for the moment. We'll be coming back to you in a few minutes. Thanks very much for joining me for the moment. We're cutting across now to the BCCI press conference on India announcing its T20 squad. Listen in.
How much time we have? You want to try and start planning? No, I mean Rohit's a great player, so it's not like it's forced upon us.
I'll answer that one because Ajit was, well, the question that you asked, he was not part of the selection committee at that point. We've actually in the past, if you have noticed, whichever format happens, we give priority to that format, and especially us being where we are, a lot of players were given breaks if there was not T20 World Cup. If there's 50-over World Cup coming up, so the focus was on 50-over World Cup. So that is why we had to miss the T20 format. And it was the same situation when we went to Australia for the World Cup, T20 World Cup. There were a lot of ODIs being played, and we missed a lot of ODIs at that point as well. So, and Test cricket was the constant format that we kept playing, because obviously that is the format you don't want to miss, and you give a lot of priority to that. And that is what we discussed as the selection committee group and the coaches and some of the players as well. Ajit came a little later into the picture, so he would probably not know about what was discussed with the earlier selection committee meeting regarding who should be resting and who shouldn't be resting.
Hi, I have a question for each of you, and start with the Chief Selector. Ajit, how difficult or how challenging was it to not get overtly swayed by individual performances in the IPL, and you had tried to balance that all of you want?
A little bit of a challenge, but like I said to Vishy before, you try and plan before the IPL starts. I think we've had our conversations over the last few months anyway. So you have a fair idea of what you're looking for. Of course, there's some great performances through the IPL which you keep a track of, fitness levels of players. I mean, if you start getting swayed by 3 or 4 weeks of cricket, then there's something wrong in your thinking over the last few months. So, no, we were pretty clear with what we wanted to do. Of course, all the good performances are noticed, and going forward, that will help us in any case. But no, I think we were pretty clear in our thinking.
Rohit, this will again not be the first, nor will it be the last that you have no simulation time as a group just ahead of the World Cup. Does it matter?
Say again. I missed.
It will not be the first time that there is no simulation, there is no pre-tournament series as such to try out the final formulation.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference, or have you made peace with it that it's highly unlikely that at least in T20s you will hardly get any time to play as a group before a World Cup?
Yeah, see, look, I think a lot of the ICC tournament that we played in the recent past, we were fortunate that we had Asia Cup before the 50-over World Cup. And we didn't have any games before the World Test Championship final last year. We straight from IPL moved into that final. So, like Ajit said rightly, we started talking about what the combination will look like, what will be our playing 11, what the pitches are in West Indies. So, you sort of make your playing 11 in your mind and, try and work around it and look at the players that can fill that role, particular role that we are looking at. So, a lot of the prep, the talk, and the guys playing games, happens during the IPL, and then plus a lot of these guys have been playing this format for a while now. So it's not like there's anyone new in this particular format. They all have been playing international cricket as well, and they've been playing IPL. So, the talk of what our 15 is going to be like started much before IPL started. It is just few spots, few individuals that we had to sort of look into during IPL, because IPL, the performances changes every day. Anyone will come and score 100, someone will get a 5 wicket, so you can't really change your planning and mindset around it. But yeah, like I said, we had clarity on what our core group is going to be like, 70-80% of the squad, and then few changes if we had to make or need to pick someone, we were prepared for that as well.
Requested photographers to do not move around when they are asked, and we will now take one question at a time. There's a big house here, so Rasesh will take one question.
Rohit, you were there you captain the last World Cup. Any sort of lessons in squad formation you think that you wanted to consider in lead up to this World Cup? And in that sense, any improvements that you would have considered in discussion group in the top order? You're looking at someone like Yashasvi to open with you, or is there an option to open with that?
All the options are open. I'm going to go to West Indies and see what is right and what can be done, because the pitch is there. I don't know, we've never played in New York, so I don't know how the pitch will be there. We've played in West Indies, but again in West Indies as well, we are playing in different venues every game. So you've got to mainly first understand what the pitches will be like and what sort of combination you need based on the opposition composition as well, what kind of teams they are playing as well. But one thing we really looked at was our middle overs hitting. Our top order hitting has been all right. It is not been bad. There are options there as well, but we wanted in the middle overs someone to come and play that role where he can play freely without worrying about who's bowling and who's not. And we picked a guy, Shivam Dube, based on what he's done in IPL and also the few games that he played before IPL as well. So, we spoke about it and we said, okay, this is what we wanted. But again, there's no guarantee what our playing 11 will look like when we go there. We will see, we will analyze. We've got a couple of practice games that we'll play and see based on what the opposition comes up, what kind of combination they have. We will try and fit our playing 11 based on that.
And we've got breaking news coming in. The first External Affairs Ministry reaction on Prajwal Revanna's exit from the country. Remember, there are allegations that he was allowed to slip away. Here's what the External Affairs Ministry has said. Remember, Prajwal Revanna left on a diplomatic passport which requires political clearance. Here is what the External Affairs Ministry has just clarified, saying he didn't seek political clearance for his Germany visit. Take a look.
Specifically on political clearance, we had no political clearance was either sought from or issued by MEA in respect of the travel of the said MP to Germany. Obviously, no visa note was issued either. No visa is required for diplomatic passport holders to travel to Germany. The ministry has also not issued any visa note for any of the country for the said Member of Parliament.
go across to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan tracking this story. Geeta, political clearance was neither sought nor granted, which means Prajwal Revanna has used a diplomatic passport to get out of the country. Has he violated rules by doing so, by not seeking political clearance?
Absolutely has, because there's no visa required for a diplomatic passport holdership, and so he could travel without seeking a visa. If he would have had to do that, maybe he would have had problems getting that visa. The question was two-part, one on political clearance and the other one on revocation of the passport itself, to which the Ministry of External Affairs has said very clearly neither was political clearance sought, nor was one given, nor a visa note was given to Prajwal Revanna. So he is in clear violation of the usage of diplomatic passport itself. And secondly, there was another question that was asked on whether if there is a request that has been put forth for revocation of his passport, to which the response of the Ministry of External Affairs has been that there has been no such request as of now, and they've not been instructed to do so. There are ministries that would be involved, which includes Ministry of Home Affairs, but for now, no request on revocation, but yes, a massive violation when it comes to usage of a very sensitive document such as the diplomatic passport.
All right, Geeta, thanks very much for that. Remember, this comes a day after Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah had written to the Prime Minister. Moving on to another story that we're tracking closely, the Delhi Police Special Cell has accused senior journalist of NewsClick, Prabir Purkayastha, founder of the NewsClick portal, of waging information war against India as part of a transnational criminal conspiracy. Simply put, India Today has accessed the 8,000-page charge sheet and annexures filed by the Delhi police, which talks of World War III being waged like guerrilla information war with no division between military and civilian participation. The explosive charges leveled by the Delhi Police Special Cell against senior journalist Prabir Purkayastha claim that he was at the behest of his long-standing associate, an American millionaire Neville Roy Singham, who is close to the Chinese Communist Party, been involved in peddling Maoist thought, possibly at the behest of his paymasters, which the charge sheet implies could be China-sponsored or linked to the Chinese deep state. I want to go across to India Today's Shreya Chatterjee for more on this. Shreya, CAA protesters, a story which had taken over the country for many, many months. The Delhi police charge sheet basically saying that it's possible that Chinese money was fueling that unrest.
Well, absolutely, Shiv. This is a charge sheet that we've accessed. This is the complete charge sheet that the Delhi Police's Special Cell has filed against Prabir Purkayastha. Remember the two major arrests which was made out of that. Amit Chakravarti, who is also the human resource head, he has also turned approver in the matter. Now, the Delhi Police has alleged that he had conspired, Prabir Purkayastha, with Neville Roy Singham and used funds that was being pushed in from China to further Chinese propaganda and to fuel unrest in the country. The Delhi police is also basing these allegations on the protected witness statements that have been recorded in front of the magistrates. These include those who worked with NewsClick. They also went on to suggest that as employees, they were asked to go to see a protest, Shaheen Bagh protest, and distribute money to the protesters. It also mentions in one of the witness statements that allegedly money was handed over to the likes of Sharjil Imam. So clearly, these are very damning allegations that are part of the charge sheet that's been filed in by the Delhi police, which will obviously now face a trial in the court.
Okay, thanks very much, Shreya. We'll keep a track of that story. Very serious implications from that charge sheet, which we will continue to decode. And the latest coming in from American campuses, students and police clashing in Ivy League campuses and others across the United States, where campus chaos is only intensifying. The Los Angeles Police Department and the University of California and LA clashed again. Hundreds of helmeted policemen in riot gear muscled their way into a central plaza of the University of California in Los Angeles to disperse a pro-Palestinian protest camp. The pre-dawn police crackdown at UCLA, and these are those pictures, marked the latest flashpoint for mounting tensions on American college campuses. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has stepped right into this campus showdown, saying that the police raids on university protesters was beautiful to watch. That's what Trump has said.
They could have done this with the tents, and it would have gone quickly and no problem. But they did an incredible job. They went into one of the big buildings, a beautiful landmark building. Boy, they got the hell beat out of it last night. You know, you're supposed to take care of those buildings. It took a beating. But the police came in, and in exactly 2 hours, everything was over. It was a beautiful thing to watch. New York's finest. Under no circumstances should we bring thousands of refugees from Hamas-controlled terrorist epicenters like Gaza to America. We just can't do it. You know, we also have to run our country. It's nice to be nice. It's nice to be good. We got to run our country. Our country's in trouble. Our country might not survive. I'll tell you what, if we don't win this election, I don't think our country's going to survive. I will say it. And I've never said that publicly, I don't think. But I felt it for a long time. I actually think our country's not going to survive. There are plenty of neighboring Muslim countries to take them. They should take them. They don't want them, by the way. They don't want them. They don't want them. We do not need a jihad in the United States of America.